Hi, folks. It's Friday night, and here's to the Ukraine and possibly, our next Vietnam or our next Third World War or our next Afghanistan. I have a bet going. Hold on. This is not whiskey, by the way. This is Jim Beam maple flavored whiskey. It's like liqueur, right? And it's impossible to get this in Germany. And our good friends Elvira and Detlef sent us this a while ago because they know that I love the flavor of maple. It's like growing up. It's like, for American, it's like that's being a kid. It's peanut butter jelly, and maple and maple frosted donuts, maple syrup on your so and it's the best thing ever, and it's addictive and dangerous, and it's like drinking pure sugar, and I love it. It's the best thing. And I mentioned this, and the reason I got this out is because this week was it a good week or a bad week? It was one of those weeks where I really needed something good to happen. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of it, toward the end of the week, something great happened. Two great things happened. One was we got state support money for 3 literary programs that we're putting on here in Berlin in March, the end of March, April, and May. Yeah, and I think it's like March 21st, whatever. March, April, and May. With 3 shows, literary shows, and there's going to be readers. There's going to be writers reading things and talking about gender in literature and cats, and the other one is short stories. Is the short story dead? And so we applied for money for that, and we're getting the money. So that was money coming in. Man, it's been a while, and a little money is coming in, and we still have to organize it, of course. It's organized in the sense that the people who are reading it are on board, and we have a place. But it's going to be a lot of administrative thing, and I took the administrative part, all the form filling and the bills and the invoices going in and out, upon myself, because I was the only guy who could do it, because I'm the only guy who has a business, technically a business. My little tiny publishing house, and so it had to be in the name of that publishing house in order for us to do this. These 3 shows, these 3 events, and I'm not the guy for that kind of. I'm not the administrative guy. I'm not the guy who I don't know when the last time I did my taxes, man. But I have to do this. I have to take this seriously and do it because we don't get the money unless we fill out the forms, and I kind of like the idea of getting money to do literary events on stage, and. Yeah, so if any of you are in Berlin, are going to be in Berlin on those dates, I don't know what those dates are right now. On the top of my head, I don't have those dates, or do I? I'm as we speak. I am looking at the calendar as we speak. It is the 23rd. That's the 23rd of March, March 23, a Thursday. It is April 5, a Wednesday, and it is May 25, a Thursday. And if anyone's in Berlin, man, come over. We'll have fun. It'll be fun. We'll go out for a pizza afterwards, and we'll be talking about literature and stuff like that, and it'll be fun. Okay, but anyway, so. That came in, and I said, "No, I got to celebrate somehow." And that very same day, the doorbell rang, and there was a package which I was not expecting. And this is the package. I'm going to unbox it, but I did open it just to see what it is. And it's from Elvira and Detlef, who gave us who sent this, and this is what it is. And this is it's as if she knew. It's as if she knew that we have something to celebrate and something to be happy about, And this is it. Look at this. Look at lots of packaging. Lots of packaging, of course. We're living in a modern. This is the modern world. Look at this. Look at this. It's chocolates. It's chocolates. It's chocolates in a box. And this is the box. But it says here, Alles Gute zum Geburtstag. I don't know if that's a mistake or not. It says happy birthday. It's happy birthday. You know, everything good for your birthday. Alles Gute zum Geburtstag. That's what the Germans say. So I don't. Was that a mistake? Because it's not my birthday. But it is Astrid's birthday tomorrow. So this might not be it for me at all. It didn't say. It was addressed to me. Didn't say anything about Astrid. And I don't know how they could know that it's Astrid's birthday. They wouldn't know this. It may just be a mistake, some misprinting. The guy who put in the package, they didn't have one without this, with happy birthday, so they put the happy birthday in. I think it's a mistake. It's a mistake. It's a good mistake. It's not. This is not Astrid's. This is mine. It's not. Plus, her birthday is tomorrow. It came yesterday. It's mine. This is mine. Look at this. You open it up here, and there's. Look at that. There's a menu. Look at this. You want to look at these chocolates? I can't believe it. Look at this. God, this packaging alone. Look at this. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. But what if it is? What if it is for Astrid? I shouldn't have. But it's not. But Astrid doesn't know. She doesn't know. No, it was addressed to me, and she doesn't know that she couldn't have known that it's Astrid's birthday tomorrow. I don't know. Should I eat this or not? I don't know. I shouldn't eat this. I should not eat this. I should wait. I should assume it's for Astrid and not eat it. It's really good. Really good. I feel terrible. It probably is for Astrid. I feel horrible. Okay. Arriva, thank you. This is a really good chocolate. Handmade chocolates. The company is Chocolatissimo. Is that the company? I don't know. I can't talk. You have to. If you're still watching this, you may as well fast forward because I have to enjoy this chocolate. Okay. So, Astrid and I got into a fight. I shouldn't be doing this on video. It's really good. It's really good. I don't know what to do. Okay. I know what to do. I'm going to eat it. That's all it is. I'm going to eat it. When in doubt, eat it. So Astrid and I got into a fight. It wasn't really a fight, but it was a kind of a loud, emotional discussion. And we weren't in disagreement about anything, but it was emotional because, war is at the doorstep of Europe. Well, war is in Europe. Ukraine is Europe, of course. It's war is in Europe, and I don't know why. Well, I do know why. I have a theory why Europeans are always so shocked when it happens. War is a standard thing in Europe. Europe has a tradition of war. War has no other place in the world has had it. Well, maybe, but few other places in the world has had such a tradition of war as Europe. But since America and England and and France and Russia to some extent put an end to that in 1945. Uh, Europeans believe that they're a peaceful region, but in fact, there's always been war here and the threat of war. And we grow up today, we grow up nowadays and think, well, war is something of the past. And we know about it abstractly. We know in an abstract way, war is hell. Okay, we learned that in school, and it's bad and it's senseless and it can be avoided somehow if everyone is just kind of reasonable and nice, and all this and it's unthinkable. War is unthinkable, but in fact it's always been there. I remember when I came over to Germany on my mission in the 80s, I had to go to the consulate embassy, either consulate or embassy, and register myself for the draft because Iran had taken hostage all the people in the embassy in Iran. The American embassy in Iran were holding them hostage, and there was and America was preparing to go to war if necessary, to go to war. And so then the draft would be reinstalled. And this was just shortly after the end of the Vietnam War. When the Vietnam War was there, I was just a kid. I didn't know anything about war, and I was thinking, as this is going on and on, am I going to have to be involved in this? Am I going to, I want to sit at home reading comic books. I don't want to go to Vietnam. And so then Vietnam ended and I was relieved. But then when the Iran thing came up, I was registered for the draft just in case, because I was at that age, just in case the draft was reinstituted. My name would be in the raffle, right? And of course it didn't happen, but that was an actual thing. I went to the embassy and I put my name on a piece of paper, and then when the Soviet Union broke down. It was 89. After that, the Yugoslavia and all these countries immediately went to war with each other. Immediately, it became war, and that was right. That's right. That's an hour's drive from Germany. It's right around the corner. But Germans they never thought, it's your war in Europe. They thought, oh, that's far away. That has nothing to do with us. And now this Ukraine and the Ukraine has been building up for some time. I mean, Russia has been, grabbing the Crimea and parts of Georgia the whole time, and Putin was always clear on what he wanted because he wanted more and more. I mean, he took Crimea. It wasn't. And the Germans made excuses for him. Said, oh yeah, but most people there speak Russian. And there's a tradition and all this. So they made excuses, and then they were shocked when he marched into the Ukraine. But no one who had kept their eyes open over the last 20 years were shocked. It was not a shocking thing. It was inevitable. And so now, how is it going to develop now? Because Russia is clearly stronger than the Ukraine, and Ukraine has to be propped up. And so it needs outside forces to prop up, and that means America. And it's a great irony that it doesn't mean, the EU, because the EU is what it's about. The enemy of Russia is not America, it's the EU. The EU is the economic competitor for Russia. The EU, the size of it, the power of it, the money here in the EU. The EU is, depending on the year on the currency exchange, the EU is richer than America. It's a huge financial power. And Russia is just dwarfed by it. And so Russia is always competing with the EU. And so when Putin says, I want to build up, the Soviet Union again, I want to take the Ukraine, and then eventually it won't take that much longer. Once he gets to Ukraine, he's going to be looking at Georgia and all these, and then it's going to be Poland. I don't think for a minute that that's not true. That's not just a crazy, that's not a crazy conspiracy theory. That's what he's thinking. And the reason is that it makes economic sense for him to do that because the EU is his competitor. And this whole thing, that we've been living through for so long, this polarization, we call it, and the instability, the England leaving the EU, everyone in the EU kind of not caring about the EU as an institution. No one really wants it. The Germans don't want it. They're all kind of nationalists, basically. The European states are still very much nationalist states, and they're afraid of being in a larger union, a larger federation. They're afraid of giving up little parts of their sovereignty, and I really think a lot of the instability that's been going on, including right up to the polarization right now, and including right up to woke culture, I think a lot of it is driven by Russian trolls, basically Russian troll farms. Much of it is. At least they're profiting from it. And the weaker the West gets, and the West is weak. Nothing is as weak as Europe. The EU is very weak, but the weaker the EU gets and the West gets, the stronger Russia will get, and they will go ahead with their plans. Putin will do his best to get as much of Europe as he can. Maybe not Western Europe. He may stop at Poland. But he wants it. There's no doubt that he wants it. He wants another Soviet Union, and it means power, and it means riches, and it means a robust economy, and it means that he can be a superpower again. He isn't a superpower. Russia is not even in the top 10 of richest countries in the world. Richest countries in the world are China, America, and Germany. Germany is right up there. No, China, America, I think, and then Japan, India, and then Germany. Germany's in the top 5. But Russia is not anywhere near there. But that's what he wants. And so he's going to do all he can to get it. And then the question is, what are we going to do about it? Can we stop him? Do we want to stop him? Looking around here in Germany, there was a big demonstration last week or last Sunday or something, and was basically the left and the right, really the Nazis and the communists, the real leftists. They were all together out there, pro-Russia. They said they weren't, well, we're not pro-Russia, and war is wrong in general, but we think the best solution would be for the West to stay out and to give the Ukraine to Russia. That's the best thing. But we're not pro-Russian. Now, of course, they are, actually, and that's really what they want. And the reason they want it is because they're afraid that they will have to pay a price to stop Putin. And that's the thing. You have to pay a price if you want to stop a guy like Putin, who has real concrete motives and advantages to taking over, as much as he can, and grabbing off as much as he can of Europe. And Europe doesn't have the backbone for it. Europe is morally weak. The thing about America is, and I've noticed it all the time. And I got to, and I like Europe. I like living here. I like Germany. I like German literature and German culture. The German language more than anything. But when I look at the difference between America and Germany, when something bad happens in the world, like the Ukraine, or Rwanda or something, Americans immediately ask themselves, well, shouldn't we be doing something about it? Something horrible is happening. Who's going to do? If we don't do something, who's going to do something? Someone has to do something. They have a feeling. Even the guy on the street has a feeling of some kind of a feeling of responsibility. He feels like America has to do something because people are suffering in a big way somewhere. And, sometimes America does something, sometimes it doesn't. A lot of times they do it wrong, etc. But there's a general feeling of responsibility. Here, it's not that at all. They don't say, something's going on in the Ukraine. Should we do something? We should be doing something. No one says that. They say, America should do something. They say, maybe if Ukraine, the best thing to do is Ukraine just to give up, and at least there will be no more bloodshed, and Russia will have what it wants. And it's because Europe is basically weak and materialistic, and that's it. And that's really all it is. I mean, we're a consumer. America is a consumer society. But when World War III comes around, it's going to be America who goes in and bites the bullet and does what has to be done. It's not going to be Europe. It's just not. And you can tell, I looked it up. You can tell in the numbers right now. I look it up. I'm going to look up in the internet again. I have a thing open somewhere. It's the numbers, the statistics of what America contributes to the Ukraine and there are three different, there's financially, there's humanitarian, and there's military. So contributions, financial contribution, humanitarian contribution, military contribution, compared with other countries is incredible. Yeah, I have it right here. It's a total bilateral aid commitments to Ukraine between January 24 to 22 and January 15 to 23 by type and country organization. The United States, 73 billion. 73 billion. All of the EU institutions together, 35 billion. That's half. Germany, the richest country in the EU, the fifth richest country in the world, the second richest country in the Western world. Germans like to think of them as a small, helpless country, but they are really the second largest, second richest, second most powerful, measured on GPD, on gross national product, country in the Western world. They gave so far $6 billion. That's less than 10% of what America did. So in the end, it's going to be us. And it's not because, of some old, ancient, fictitious, animosity between the U.S. and Russia. It's not about the U.S. and Russia. It's about U.S. and the EU. It's the EU that Putin wants to destroy. It's not the America. But the EU will not stand up for itself. And so we have to step in and do it, as we always do. And so, the question, the bets we were making bets, and we were making bets. Well, how is it going to turn out? Is this going to turn out? There are several scenarios. Okay, it's going to be, there could be escalation, and then there's going to be boots on the ground, American boots on the ground, NATO boots on the ground, which means mainly American boots on the ground, and maybe even atomic weapons. It could go anywhere. It could be a Third World War, and so that's one scenario. Will it be Third World War? Both Astrid and I thought probably not, because Putin is too smart for that. He's a smart, intelligent, and savvy person. He's not nuts. He knows what he's doing. He knows very well who his enemy are also, and he knows about the weakness and the division in the entire Western world, in America and in Europe. And I got to tell you, the division in America, it's so stupid. If the leftists, if the Democrats are in power, and we have to show some kind of military force, then the Republicans are suddenly, the peaceniks, and they're all against war. Why are we going to war? And it's not because of the thing itself. It's not because that they don't want to support Ukraine. It's because the Democrats are in power, and anything the Democrats do has to be criticized. And the other way around, it's the same thing. If the Republicans were in power, they probably would support the Ukraine, because that's what we have to do. We have treaties, and we have a commitment to the world order, and that's what we do. And so the Republican also, if there were a Republican president now, Trump, he would probably he would probably support the Ukraine. And then the Democrats would be saying, oh, that's all, he wants the oil, he wants that oil, and it's all about the oil. And so it doesn't matter who's in power, the other guy is going to complain and get on his high horse and pretend that he's the peacenik, and the other one in power is the warmonger. But in fact, America has probably more treaties of military commitment with other countries than any other country in the world, and we have a bigger responsibility and a bigger military and a bigger economy than anyone else. It's our responsibility to be out there doing this. That's why we have to do it. It's our response. That's our role. And you can tell, you can say what you want about how terrible America is, a health system that could be better, an education system that could be better, cops shooting, black guys. But in the end, places like the EU cannot fend for themselves. They need the U.S. And a lot of people out there need the U.S. to come in and help them. And so that's what's going to happen here. I think probably the U.S. will not back down. I think the U.S. has a high moral commitment to freedom and against tyranny and aggression. And I think that's true. You can say what you want. You can be as, there's all kinds of weird things in our history, which you could cite as being contradicted. But in the end, I think we're going to stick with the Ukraine, even if our next president is a Republican president. And so the question, and I don't think that Putin will take out his nuclear weapons. So it's not going to be Third World War. Or it's not going to be atomic war. Maybe it's world war, but it's not going to be atomic war. But the question was more, is it going to be like Vietnam? Or is it going to be like Afghanistan? And Vietnam, Vietnam was this thing where no matter what we did, we were not committed enough to go in and beat the North Vietnamese, and so we had to lose. And eventually we lose after, a great loss of life and a nonsensical war and all that craziness. And I can imagine the Ukraine being like that. I can imagine Russia always being strong enough not to be beaten down, and America and the Western allies never being committed enough to really go in and just really do what has to be done in huge force. I think that would be the only way to defeat Russia. And I don't think we're willing to do it. But we're also not willing to pull out. And so I think this is going to go on like Vietnam. But Astrid said she didn't think so. She said it's going to be more like Afghanistan. It's hard to say what she means by that. Hard to say actually what Afghanistan means. I don't know what Afghanistan is. I mean, we went in, we theoretically won the war, and then we didn't, and then we pulled out. So that's kind of like Vietnam, except it's on a lower level. It's on a lower level. I think the difference between Afghanistan and Vietnam is Nixon. Nixon made all the difference, and that is one of his very smart things to do before he left office stupidly, before all the stupid things he did, was to do away with the draft. I think it was Nixon, wasn't it? I think it was Nixon who did away with the draft. And the reason why that made all the difference is if there's a draft, then even upper class elitist kids and young men in universities, educated, the children of the educated elite also have to go to war. And those are the ones who have a say in society. The educated classes are in charge of the media. They're in charge of politics. They are the decision makers in society. And so all these guys, all these kids you send off to Berkeley and Princeton, they're going to be making decisions in society, and they are vocal, and they have access to the media and to theory and to all kinds of theories and things like that. So if they have to go to war, they're going to resist. They're going to make a big thing out of it. They're not going to want to go to war. They're going to go to the newspapers and print newspapers of their own and print poetry and be hippies. And that's what happened in Vietnam. They said, I'm not going to war. And they made all the protests and they did all the politics and they changed society because they didn't want to go to war. And it was all centered in universities because it was the kids of the educated elite who didn't want to go to war. And then Nixon said, why don't we just not make it a draft? And then if the kids of the educated elite are not drafted, they won't have to go to war, and they'll just keep quiet. They'll shut up. And that's what happened. And since we don't have the draft, and it's a voluntary army, it's the kids from the lower classes who are going to war, who are going into the army. And they go voluntarily because it's a better, economic deal, and they get education. And so they don't complain, and their parents don't go to the newspapers because the newspapers don't care what they say, and they don't go and talk about Marxist theory in college because that's not what they do. And so if the reason that something like the war in the wars under Bush, Iraq and Afghanistan, had so little protest. There was a little protest, but it was like it was almost an online protest. It was like a weak protest. It was nothing serious. This protest did not have to be taken seriously. And the reason is because the educated elite were not threatened. And the educated elite just said, well, it's not good, but hey, I have a job interview next week at this lawyer's firm, and that's the important thing. And so that's how, if you want to, go to war, you can't draft the children of the educated elite. That's one of the big lessons of Nixon. And so we don't have that problem now, do we? So we can send people of the lower classes, and including women of the lower classes and transgender of the lower classes. It's all very equity, a lot of equity and diversity now. So we can send all children of all the lower classes into the Ukraine when the time comes when NATO gets involved, and we can watch them die, and for years and years, and go on for 10 years before we lose. That's the Vietnam scenario. That's it. It's kind of depressing because no matter when we lose, if we lose now or in 10 years, the next step is going to be for Putin is to move further west. And that's not in the interest of anyone in the Western world, but we're not going to have the strength to stand up for it. The greatest generation, the World War II generation, is just not there anymore. Oh boy, now I'm just depressed. Well, maybe I'll die before that happens. Anyway, I wanted to say something upbeat. I don't know what it was I wanted to say that was upbeat. I have here good alcohol. I have excellent. Look at this. Look at this. Look at that. This is, I feel terrible eating this. I just should not eat this. This probably is really as acid. I just feel terrible. Just horrible. I'm ashamed of myself. Folks, Friday night, have a good weekend. I hope you're all okay. I hope you've had a good week and you've been doing well. I hope you have a great weekend. I hope you have a good week next week. Don't let this bullshit get you down. Do your responsibility to your state and say your opinion and tell the people, the politicians and your leaders, what you think and what you want. Do it consciously, not just in a bar with friends or like me and Ash at the dinner table. Write them a letter. Tell them what you think. Whatever it is, do your duty. And then you've done your duty, go back to your life and have a good life. And, everything else will take care of itself and it will happen or it won't happen. But in the meantime, live a good life. Good night.